I'm sitting here with my tea getting cold, watching the rain on the window. I'm Margaret. I'm 83 years old. And I need to tell you something that might sound strange coming from an old woman. After a certain age, maybe you shouldn't look for love anymore. Not because love isn't beautiful, but because loneliness with someone is worse than loneliness alone. If you're younger than me, this might not make sense yet. If you're my age, you might already know what I mean. Richard died when I was 68, 15 years ago now. The first year after, the house echoed. Every room felt too big. The silence had weight. People kept saying the same thing. You're still young, Margaret. You should meet someone. You deserve companionship. My daughter brought it up over coffee one afternoon. She meant well. She always means well. Mom, have you thought about, I don't know, maybe joining a group? I knew what she meant. She meant men. She meant finding someone so I wouldn't be alone. I told her I was fine. She gave me that look, the one that says she doesn't believe me but doesn't want to push. But it stayed with me. That idea, that maybe something was wrong with me for being content alone. I've been alone for 3 years by then. I had my routines, my garden, my books, coffee with a neighbor on Thursdays. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was peaceful. Then I met Robert. Not their trying, just their living. He was at the library one Tuesday afternoon. We both reached for the same book, one of those mystery novels with the bright covers. He smiled, said I could take it. He'd read it before anyway. We got to talking, just small talk, the weather, the library's new hours, nothing important. But the next week he was there again, same table, different book. After a few weeks of this, he asked if I'd like to get coffee sometime. I said yes before I'd really thought about it, because it felt nice to be asked, to be noticed, to matter to someone new. Robert was 76, widower, retired engineer, kind man, lonely man. That first coffee turned into weekly lunches, then dinners, then phone calls that lasted an hour, 2 hours, until I'd look at the clock and realize it was past 10, and I was exhausted. Everyone was pleased. My daughter, my friends, even I thought I should be pleased. But something started happening that I didn't expect. Robert needed things. Not terrible things, not unreasonable things, just things. He'd call in the morning to say good morning, then at lunch to ask what I was doing, then in the evening to plan the next day. At first I thought it was sweet. This is what couples do, isn't it? But after a few months, I noticed something. If I didn't answer right away, if I was in the garden, or reading, or just didn't hear the phone, he'd call again, then text, then call again. I was worried, he'd say, "You didn't answer." I started carrying my phone everywhere, started feeling guilty when I wanted to just sit in silence without explaining myself. We'd make plans every weekend, always something, a drive to see the leaves, dinner at a place his friend recommended, visit his daughter and her family. One Saturday, I just wanted to stay home, tend my garden, read, do nothing. I told him I needed a quiet weekend. He got quiet on the phone, not angry, just hurt. I thought we could spend the day together. I was looking forward to it, and there it was, that feeling, like I'd done something wrong by wanting time to myself. So I said yes. I always said yes, because what kind of person disappoints someone who just wants to spend time with them? Here's something nobody tells you about relationships when you're older. Everyone assumes you should be grateful, that at 83 or 70 or whatever age, if someone wants you, you should count yourself lucky. So when you're tired, when you need space, when you just want one day to yourself, you feel selfish, ungrateful. About 6 months in, I started noticing something else. Every time his name appeared on my phone, my chest would tighten, not in a good way, in a bracing way. One evening he called at 9:30. I was already in bed, reading, half asleep. Part of me didn't want to answer, but what if something was wrong? What if he needed me? Nothing was wrong. He just wanted to talk about his day, about something his son said that bothered him, about a doctor's appointment he was nervous about. We talked for over an hour. When I hung up, it was almost 11. I just sat there, in the dark, not sleepy anymore, just drained. The next morning, my neighbor asked if I wanted to go to the farmer's market. I love the farmer's market. The flowers, the fresh bread, the quiet walk through the stalls. But I knew if I went, Robert would want to come. And if Robert came, it wouldn't be quiet. It would be conversation. Decisions about what to buy. Questions about whether I really needed more tomatoes when I already had some at home. So I said I couldn't make it. That night, sitting in my kitchen, I realized something. My life wasn't mine anymore. I was living around someone else's needs, someone else's schedule, someone else's loneliness. Because that's what it was, really. Robert wasn't looking for a partner. He was looking for a solution to his own emptiness. And I'd become that solution. There was the money, too. I'm on a fixed income, Social Security and a small pension from when I worked at the payroll office. I'm careful. With Robert, I was spending money I hadn't planned for. Dinners out twice a week. $50, $60 each time. Gas, driving to his daughter's house an hour away. Birthday gifts for grandchildren I just met. I didn't say no. How could I? But I was lying awake doing math in my head, watching my small savings account shrink. And it wasn't just money. It was energy. At 83, I wake up at 6. I have my coffee. I putter around. By 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I'm tired. I need to rest. But Robert didn't understand that. He'd want to go out for an early dinner at 5, then stop by the store, then drive past a park he wanted to show me. We wouldn't get home until 8 or 9. I'd be completely exhausted. When I'd say I was tired, he'd look at me like I was making excuses. My friend Dorothy is 85, and she goes to exercise class 3 times a week. We were having dinner at his place. He'd made pot roast. It was good. He was trying. Out of nowhere, he said, "I've been thinking. Maybe we should move in together, split expenses, keep each other company." I sat there with my fork halfway to my mouth. He kept talking about how it made sense, how we were already spending so much time together anyway, how his house was bigger, how we weren't getting any younger. I felt something close to panic. This house, my house, is where Richard and I lived for 40 years, where I raised my children, where I know every creak in the floor and every crack in the ceiling. The thought of sharing it, of someone else's routine determining when I eat, when I sleep, when I have my morning coffee in silence. I couldn't breathe. I ended things the following week, told him I couldn't do this anymore. He cried, asked what he'd done wrong. The guilt was crushing, but I told him the truth. I'm not ready to give up my life for someone else. I thought I was, but I'm not. He said I was being selfish, that at our age we should be grateful to have found each other. Maybe he was right. Maybe I am selfish, but I'd rather be selfish than disappear. The first few weeks after were hard. My daughter was disappointed. She didn't say it, but I could tell. My friends didn't understand. He was such a nice man, Margaret. What happened? But slowly, something started shifting. I woke up one morning, and my first thought wasn't about checking my phone. It was, what do I want to do today? I started having coffee with my neighbor again, spent mornings in my garden without having to explain why I wasn't answering the phone. had quiet evenings reading without feeling guilty, and I wasn't lonely. I was peaceful. That's when I understood. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. With Robert, I was never alone, but I was profoundly lonely because I couldn't be myself. That's a different kind of loneliness, the kind where someone's sitting right next to you, but you've never felt more isolated. It's been 5 years since Robert. I haven't dated since. I'm not going to, not because I'm bitter, not because all men are terrible. Robert wasn't terrible. He was just lonely, and he wanted me to fix that for him. But I can't fix someone else's loneliness. I can barely manage my own. I wake up every morning at 6, make my coffee exactly how I like it, spend time in my garden or with my books or doing absolutely nothing. And I don't have to explain myself to anyone. My daughter finally stopped worrying. Last time she visited, she said, "You seem happy, Mom." She's right. I am happy, not because I found the perfect person, but because I found peace. I have a friend, Dorothy, the one Robert mentioned. She's been with a man for 7 years now. She's miserable. Last time we had coffee, she said, "I can't remember the last time I had a full day to myself. But what am I going to do at 85? Start over?" That's not love. That's fear. And I understand that fear. I lived with it for 9 months. The fear of being alone. The fear of what people would think. The fear of admitting that maybe at this age, I'm better off by myself. At 83, peace isn't a luxury. It's survival. My body can't handle the constant emotional labor of managing someone else's needs, someone else's expectations, someone else's loneliness. So I chose peace, and I'm not apologizing for it. Do I get lonely sometimes? Of course. Christmas can be hard. My birthday, the anniversary of Richard's death. But those moments pass, and they're nothing compared to the loneliness I felt sitting next to Robert, pretending to be someone I wasn't. I think about the women I know who got remarried late in life. Some of them are happy, genuinely happy. They found real partners, equal relationships. But most of them, they're just less alone, which isn't the same as being happy. They cook meals they don't want to cook. They watch television shows they don't care about. They go to bed when someone else is tired and wake up when someone else is ready. They've traded themselves for companionship. And maybe that's fine for them. Maybe that's what they want. But it's not what I want. I had 46 years of marriage. Good years mostly. Hard years too. Years where I made myself smaller to make room for someone else. I don't want to do that again. I want my mornings, my garden, my books, my silence. I want to eat dinner at 4:30 if I feel like it, or at 8 if I don't feel like eating at all. I want to go to bed at 9 and wake up at 5 and not have to coordinate with anyone. That's not sad. That's freedom. I'm grateful for the life I had with Richard, for my children, for the years of partnership and building something together. But I'm also grateful for these years alone, for learning, finally, at 83, that I can be enough for myself, that I don't need someone else to validate my existence. I'm grateful for quiet mornings, for the neighbor who stops by with tomatoes from her garden, for my granddaughter who calls sometimes just to talk. I'm grateful that I tried with Robert, because now I know for certain this is better. Thank you for sitting with me, for listening to an old woman talk about things that might not make sense until you're here too. If you want to sit with me again, I'll be here. Take care of yourself, whatever that means for you.